So I don't want to repeat too much of what Eric said because he said a whole lot of things that make sense. Maybe it would make more sense for me to explain why I think it's important that a group like the Homeless Coalition take part in this. We have, as you know, been around since 1984, and since that time, the primary cause of homelessness has been a lack of affordable housing, a lack of living wage employment. A lot of our people work constantly day labor, where the tall buildings downtown, big corporations, instead of hiring through their own HR departments, they hire through a second-hand company folks, and for maybe 12, 14-hour days, you might get $40 or less. Taxes are pulled out of that. You come away with a wage that keeps you poor. And so sometimes in our efforts, as we're kind of out, the coalition is known for drawing lines in the sand where we do think there's right and there's wrong. Some folks might say, well, you know, Josh, there really is nobody that's against us. You know, nobody really wants people to be poor or really wants homelessness. But that's not what we believe. We believe that there are people who want to keep a system that has people impoverished. If we think about what I described with day labor, the only way that works, the only way that those corporate powers are able to put so many dollars into their pockets and keep it at the top is because they pay their workers next to nothing. Right? And then that means that they don't have a living wage, they can't afford their housing, and eventually they end up in our shelters. And homelessness is a cross-section of everybody in our society because that, what I've said, is true. And keeping people at a lower class where they are forced to work jobs that pay next to nothing, thus putting more profits in the pockets of the people at the top, is a goal. It is a strategy. It is something that they are accomplishing. And we, as the Homeless Coalition, believe it's wrong. It's immoral. And to me, this is sort of what Occupy is about. Occupy is about saying that we spend so much time infighting, the lower class, if you will, and the middle class fighting it out. We're going to pass this school levy, or we're going to pass this hospital levy. What about where the drop-in center should be? What about where this housing unit should be, or that? And we spend all this time infighting. Meanwhile, we've got an enemy, a common enemy, that's sitting at the top. And we have, as Eric said, 10 of the big companies right here in our city, yet we are one of the poorest cities in this country. The group that we're always talking about as the coalition, 3CDC, they're one of the people on the board, A.G. Laffitt, right? P&G, $23 million a year was his salary before he retired. Head of Kroger, about $13 million a year. And yet they sit at the heads of companies that remove people from their homes, right? That keep people poor again. And so Occupy is about saying, hey, we're done with this infighting. We're done with fighting each other. We're gonna coalesce. We're gonna head in one direction, and we're gonna take back the power. And that's not just a cliche statement of power to the people, but it's real. In this very city, when the right before the arrests began to occur in Hyatt Park. And by the way, just please consider the hilarity of this, that people of all types gathered in a public space, owned by the public, paid for by the public, and at a certain hour, the clock hits 10 and 12, right? 10 o'clock. And suddenly it's illegal. Not allowed to be there. Meanwhile, wedding parties and individuals can stroll through the park at all hours. They're not told to leave. But when a group comes and says, hey, we're going to speak up, we're told to leave. If you notice, just before arrests occurred, a couple things happened. One, several members of council, Chris Bortz, Wayne Lippert, Leslie Gibbs, eventually Amy Murray, all threatened the city manager. We're going to vote no confidence in you. We're going to threaten your job if you don't remove these people from the park. Almost simultaneously, an Inquirer article came out. It's entitled something like, Garfield businesses want occupiers gone. Okay, so please keep in mind that the Inquirer sits on the board of 3CDC, for example. It's not necessarily an unbiased publication. And there's always pitched at, these business owners trying to make ends meet. They want these people gone because it's bad for business. But I don't know if you caught the names of the business owners. There were names like David Ginsburg and Arne Bortz. Arne Bortz, who was mayor on council, while on council set up the ability, created Town Property, his company, as the preferred developer for Garfield Park, and he jumped off council and tore down the Millen Hotel where 115 poor people lived right on Garfield Park. And got paid to do it by the city in millions, by the way. Guys like David Ginsburg that have been pushing panhandling law, saying that you'd have to get a license to panhandle, you'd have to wear a sign that identifies you as homeless, reminiscent of 1939 Berlin. Guys like this are the people that were saying, we don't want these people in the park. And they think that all the rest of us are foolish enough to not remember history. So this is a setup thing. What is powerful about the Occupy movement nationally and locally, we can see here is being effective because just a matter of days into the push, about a week and a half into the push, without even the Occupy folks naming names, those people came out and spoke up against us. We didn't even have to name them. They knew who they were, and they spoke up. So, I'm going to pass the mic on, but I would encourage all of you, Pike Park, Garfield Park, Vine, Garfield, every night, 6 o'clock there's a meeting. Everybody's welcome to come. So